Alrighty, so we're now almost done in terms of talk about teams that got eliminated in the regular season in the Moving Forward series episode. In fact, we're now going to talk about in these next two episodes of the team that just missed out on the playoffs and finished in that 8th spot. And in the Eastern Conference, we have the Columbus Crew. And, it is still kind of mind-blowing, the fact that when you look at this Columbus Crew team and the quality that they have, how in the world did this team miss the playoffs? Like, I think this is going to go down as probably one of the best teams we have seen in the past couple of years, or maybe even in league history, to see a team that has that good of a team and also put up a pretty good number in terms of the season overall. And yet they missed the playoffs. And we definitely know what is the main culprit in terms of the reason why they missed the playoffs, but we'll definitely get to that. But first of all, they finished with a season of 10, 16, and 8, and finished with 46 points. I mean, we definitely know the main culprit in terms of implosion, but I think one of the more underrated culprit that maybe many people don't talk about as the reason why they missed the playoffs, way too many draws. 16 draws this season. That is the most out of any team so far this year. In fact, that was only 2 less than last year when Nashville SC, of course, had 18 draws, and of course tying the Chicago Fire as the record for the most draw in a single season in MLS. But unlike Nashville, where they were able to make the playoffs because they only lost 4 games, Columbus just didn't win enough games, and that out of those 16 draws that we saw this season, I can tell you at least half of them probably shouldn't end up as a draw. And that of course is where we'll definitely get to the main culprit with the implosion that they had in the final part of the game. But they finished with 46 points. Score also the same amount of goals that they've finished in terms of points. I will say that the goal scoring is a little bit on the I wouldn't say kind of medium, well, kind of a average side, but almost to just a little bit below average. And that's kind of a surprise considering the fact that they definitely have some very threatening attacker with the likes of Zarian, Etienne, and Cucho in front. So it's kind of surprising that they only scored 46 goals, despite the fact that they have a very good front three. The goals allowed, 41 goals this season, much better in terms of the back line. I mean, this was the back line I think we saw in the MLS Cup winning team in 2020, and that they actually had the second best defensive record in the Eastern Conference. Only the Union gave up the least amount of goals, and they finished with a positive goal differential, +5 as the goal differential. That is definitely one of the highest goal differential for a team that got eliminated in the regular season and not make it to the playoffs. And as I mentioned, they just missed out by finishing 8th in the Eastern Conference. Now, the top goal scored, we got Lucas Zarian with 10 goals, followed by Derek Etienne Jr. with 9 goals. Cucho Hernandez also with 9 goals. And then it does kind of become a little bit of a fall off because, this is the main front three that has contributed in the goal scoring department. So you got Luis Diaz with 3 goals and Eric Hurtado with 3 goals. Top assist leader, unsurprisingly, Zarian leads the team with 12 assists, followed by Steven Morea with 8 assists. Lucas Diaz with 6 assists, Derek Etienne with 6 assists, and Pedro Santos finished with 5 assists. So what are some of the highlights for this Columbus Crew team? I mean, I know we're going to get to talk about the obvious lowlights that kind of crippled their season, but at least there were some highlights. And I think one of the highlights of this season for Crew fan is that no injury crisis that they had this season. I mean, yes, they have suffered a couple of injuries there and there, but it was nothing compared to what we saw in last year, where when they won that MLS Cup, not only the fact that they had an MLS Cup hangover, but it felt like the MLS gods and the soccer gods were demanding payment for that MLS Cup because they were hit by some of the nastiest injury crises that we have ever seen in the league. Almost. I will say that they suffer a very nasty injury crisis just before Atlanta United decided to almost kind of one up that this season with the injury crisis that they also suffer. But at least this year, no injury crisis, and most of those guys that went down because of injuries and part of the injury crisis were back healthy and performing at a good level. Cucho Hernandez is a real deal. I mean, we saw it when he came into the league of how, he really had that Joseph Martinez 2017 vibe, where when he came into the league, he absolutely liked the league on fire. And there was a feeling that of course, was going to be the case. When Columbus decided to get him from Watford, there's a lot of talks that he could definitely fry in this league and be that dangerous goal scorer. And my, oh my, he was that. And then some. And that, yeah, this is a guy that, how I said yesterday when I did a video talking about a bold prediction that a player is going to score 25 plus goal this season. I think Cucho Hernandez could be that player. I mean, just the way that he plays, and that if he is in form like when he came into the league with 4 goals in the first 3 games, he can definitely easily get to that 25 plus mark, and especially get into the 20 plus goal mark too. And then I also think it was a great bounce back season for Zarian. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think Lucas Zarian had a bad year in 2021. But the issue with him in 2021 was inconsistency. There was times that he's been able to score those goals and provide the assists like we know he is considered. He is definitely considered as the top 3, number 10 in this league. But the issue in 2021 was just some of the boneheaded plays that he made, whether he just gave the ball away carelessly in the midfield or just decided to kind of hang on to the ball too long and just getting pickpocketed. We definitely didn't see as much of that last season, and that he definitely cleaned up on that. So in a way, I think even though the numbers that he produced this year, which definitely was MLS starting 11 caliber kind of number, was almost the same as he did in 2021. At least he in terms of his overall game has improved, where he's not giving the ball away silly, or especially making those boneheaded play where he gave the ball away terribly in the midfield, and all of a sudden the crew is in deep trouble, because when you give the ball away cheaply and you create those turnover in the midfield, yeah, you're definitely going to be in serious trouble of conceding goals. Now, talk about the lowlights. And, I don't really need to spend too much time talking about the lowlights, because I know Columbus Crew fans know what is the obvious reason why this season turns out to be a huge disappointment and just a huge letdown, is the implosion that we've seen in the final 15 minutes and stoppage time. 17 goals that they have conceded in the final 15 minutes. Like, that is literally, almost half of the goals that they've conceded this season has came in the final 15 minutes. Like, that is just mind-blowing that of course is the case. And then historic implosion in stoppage time too. 11 points dropped at the after 90 minutes. I mean, just to think, if they only drop maybe 2 or 3 more points, or at least keep 2 or 3 more points and drop 2 or 3 more points less than what they did after 90 minutes, this is a playoff team. They would have made it as the 7th seed. So again, it's just, this is why it's still just kind of defy all logic, the fact that with a team as good as they have in terms of the season, of the stats they had, they have to do something really crazy to miss out on the playoffs. And this is basically the crazy thing of them just completely imploding in the final 15 minutes. And again, I'm going to bring back to what I said about the Portland Timbers back in 2020. And I know if you're a Timbers fan watching this, I'm sorry that I had to bring that up again, but it was almost similar to what we saw with the Columbus Crew this year. But I think it's even worse than what we see for the Timbers, because with the Timbers in 2020, yes, they have gave up a lot of goals and had problem in terms of closing out games. Columbus basically took that as a challenge, and not only just say hold my beer, but also take it even extreme way, with the way that it just every single game, especially in the second half of the season, that they just implode like that. I mean, it was getting to a point where it's almost so predictable. If you're a Columbus Crew fan watching your team play, where after the 75 minute, you might as well just turn off your TV and realize that, yeah, they're about to lose this game, because of how often they were just imploding in the final 15 minutes to either draw points to get another draw, or draw points to lose a game. And then the decision day match pretty much just sum up the season. Again, went up 1-0, looked like everything was going well, and then you forgot that, yeah, this team cannot close out game, and to nobody's surprise, they give up a goal in the 84th minute that give Orlando City the lead and propel them into the playoffs. And again, I mean, there's not a more fitting way for a team to get eliminated this season. It's just what we saw with the Columbus Crew in decision day. I mean, as painful as that moment has been for Crews fan, I don't think anybody was surprised, because it's only fitting the fact that in just such a year where, despite they definitely have improved compared to last season injury riddled year. The implosion was what kept them out of the playoffs. Now, in terms of MVP and revelation, I mean, this one it was a little bit tough because I could have easily gone with one of those players from the front three. I could have even gone with a defender too because when you look at this back line, much more improved, especially on Jonathan Mensah's part. He definitely looked like he was back to being a MVP kind of caliber defender there at the back, and even Eloy Roan definitely had a bounce back year this season for the Columbus Crew. But in terms of the MVP, most of the players that pick has been on the attacking front, and it's kind of not a big surprise because most of the most recognizable player and getting the award comes on the attacking end. So it's only fitting for me to pick an attacker, and that again it was a little bit tough because I could have easily gone with Cucho and what he did when he came into the league, and there's no doubt that he could have easily had a shot of winning the Golden Boot if he actually didn't came in the middle of the season. Could have even gone with Derek Etienne, who finally this season have break out to what we thought that he has some really good potential to be a decent player in this league, going even back to his New York Red Bulls day. But at the end, I gotta go with Zarian. I mean, he's literally the heartbeat of this team. He is the creator, and as I mentioned, easily one of the top three number 10 in this league right here. And yeah, I'm gonna say he's gonna be the MVP. Now, in terms of disappointment, again, there really isn't a lot that I could say it was a disappointment because, again, with those implosion that they have, there's multiple players that were at fault on that. But I'm gonna say Artur is gonna be a disappointment, and this might be harsh because I don't think Artur played that badly this year, but I think you can definitely see that he has lost a step or two, and again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he is getting to that point where he's down to his twilight of his career, and it's no surprise that Columbus realized that I think it maybe is time to move on from him, and that's why he is now being traded to the Houston Dynamo. Well, actually didn't get traded, but actually signed off of free agency. But yeah, overall, I think he was really kind of the only player that I can know of that suffered a major injury last year and then didn't really kind of bounce back at a rate what we saw before he suffered the injury. But again, a lot of that has to do with the fact that he is getting to that point where father time is catching up to him, and that he's not going to be like the player that we saw a couple of years ago where he was still almost near the end of his prime. Now, moving forward for the Columbus Crew, well, there really isn't much that I can say that they need to do this offseason to improve their chances of making the playoffs and become an MLS Cup contender because they've already done that. They've already remade the game-changing move, or I would say not just a game-changing move, but the season-changing move of the side to fire Caleb Porter and bring in Wilfred Nancy. And it's kind of crazy the fact that a couple of months ago we would never thought that Wilfred Nancy would be the next head coach of the Columbus Crew. But thankfully for the Crew's perspective, what's going on with Nancy, with him somehow being available, and then they were the first one to jump in terms of trying to get his signature. Yeah, that is definitely a huge improvement, man. I would say compared to what the head coaching role that they had last season. I mean, let's be honest. Caleb Porter, as much as we have seen a lot of implosion that they have, a lot of them you guys has to go with the manager, because as a manager or a head coach, when you're unable to find ways to create good tactics and have the mentality of sending you guys to finish up games and able to close out games, then it's the blame is definitely going to be mostly on you, and it's no surprise they decided to fire him after them missing the playoffs. And again, bring the likes of Wilfred Nancy, that we know what he did in terms of getting best of the good players at Montreal, and now he coming into Columbus, already have a very good core to work with. This is definitely a team that I think is not only going to make the playoffs next season, but they're an MLS Cup caliber kind of team. In fact, speaking of which, the core that they have, it's an MLS Cup caliber. This is definitely a team that I think can definitely go up against the best team in the Eastern Conference, and that includes the Philadelphia Union. Like, if you talk about the Columbus Crew next season, there could be a case where we could see the Columbus Crew play against the Philadelphia Union in all the way into the Eastern Conference Final. And I know that seems like a big bold bold kind of statement. And in some way, it's kind of maybe a hot take to just say that of course could happen. But look at this team. Look at the front three that they have is definitely a front three that I can say that is going to be absolutely lethal. Their midfield is also very decent. And then at the back, knowing the fact that last season they had a solid bounce back year in the back, and that this is considered one of the best defensive team, you cannot tell me that this team is not only going to make the playoffs, but could be a team that could make a deep playoff run. And then let's not also forget about the depth too. So one of the things we talked about after when they won MLS Cup is that they definitely load up on the depth department. But of course, the problem with that is that a lot of those depth pieces got injured, and now most of them, of course, are back. But what's even more important in terms of the fact that they have a very deep squad is that the young players are also stepping up on the depth chart. That there are definitely some promising young players that could even break into the starting 11. So guys like Aiden Morris, well, actually not Aiden Morris because he's actually a regular starter, but guys like Will Sands, Jason Russell Rowe, and all those guys that look really good last year. These are definitely kind of players that could be part of this starting 11 and can definitely mold into that starting 11 once some of the core pieces that they have maybe start to age out a little bit. So that's what makes the Columbus Crew in a very good position too, because not only the fact that you have a very decent core, but you now already have players that you have in the young players department that can definitely replace those core players, and you don't really lose that much in terms of it. Yeah, again, this is a team that I think this season this team should be making themselves back into the playoffs. And I probably also could have done a video talking about all the teams that got eliminated last season and talk about which are going to be the most likely to make it to the playoffs out of those teams that did not make it last season. And I would say the Columbus Crew will be right up top of it. I think between them and the Seattle Sounders are probably the most likely team that is going to make it back into the playoffs. And I wouldn't even be surprised that this team could be one of the top three or even the top seed in the Eastern Conference if Wilfried Nancy again can get the best out of what is already a very talented team for this upcoming season. But there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of me talking about the Columbus Crew in the Moving Forward series episode. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and if you're a Crew fan, what do you think are the highlights, the lowlights, and moving forward, how is this team going to look heading into the upcoming season? But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.